Sai Ram. Some of the most beautiful moments between Swami and his devotees got created when Swami would speak to the primary school children. The most interesting questions and the most interesting answers would emerge. I remember on one occasion, Swami picked up one little child and asked him, "Boy, how many brothers do you have?" Now this boy happened to have no brothers at all. So he said, "Swami, I don't have any brothers." Swami said, "Hey, everyone, all are your brothers." This boy smiled, Swami also smiled. A few days later, Swami picked the same boy and now asked him, "Boy, how many sisters do you have?" This boy answered, he said, "Swami, I have one sister." Swami said, "No, all are your sisters." And again, the boy smiled and Swami smiled. By now, the boy began to register what should be the right answer. So a few days later, when Swami came to him, the boy seemed to be ready with his answer. And Swami asked him, "Hey boy, how many wives do you have?" And the boy promptly replied, "Swami, all are wives." And Swami said, "Hey, no. And everybody smiled, everybody laughed. It was such a sweet interaction. On one hand, it showed the sweetness of the Lord. On the other, it showed the power of repeated action or a habit. Sow a thought, reap a word. Sow a word, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a tendency. Sow a tendency, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Habits are something with which all of us struggle, either to inculcate good habits or to get rid of bad habits. Now this episode occurred when Swami had called in a few teachers from the Brindavan campus of the university. The interview began, as always, with Swami inquiring about the welfare of the boys. After that, Swami began to discourse on the importance of good habits and how one should give up bad habits. At this point in time, the mathematics lecturer asked Swami this question. He asked, "Swami, if we have a bad habit, is it better to give it up gradually or should it be given up at once?" Swami looked at him and asked, "If you have a poisonous snake in your hand, will you let go of it little by little or immediately throw it away?" The message was very clear. A bad habit has to be immediately given up. Very interestingly, if you take a habit and try to give it up little by little, it becomes very difficult. Swami gives this very interesting illustration. He says, you take the habit and give up H a little bit. A bit is left, right? Now give up A. Bit is still left. Give up the B. It is still there. When you give up the I, T, the bad habit of T, will still be left. So you see, a habit has to be given up immediately, completely, wholesome, not part by part. When Swami told this to the teacher further probed and asked, "Swami, it is not as easy as you say. You say we must give it up completely, but it is so difficult to give up a bad habit. What should we do?" At this point in time, suddenly it looked as if Swami became upset. He searched to his left and right and then picked up a piece of paper and he began to roll it into a pipe. Now this teacher was sure that Swami was going to use that roll of paper to hit him on his head or maybe his shoulder. But instead, Swami now gave this roll of paper to that teacher and said, "Open it." And when the roll was opened, it was curved in the direction in which the paper had been rolled. Now he said, "Straighten it." So the teacher placed it on the floor and tried to straighten it as much as he could. But however much he straightened it, the paper would curl back, it would curve back. he gave up. Swami now took that paper and rolled it in the opposite direction. When he rolled it in the opposite direction and then opened it up, now the paper was straight. Swami said, to give up a bad habit, develop a countering good habit. Wow, what a beautiful solution it is. When a room or space is filled with a dirty stench or stink, we cannot remove that stench or stink. Instead, we light an incense stick, an agarbatti, or possibly spray some room freshener. By introducing the fragrance, we beat the stink. So too, when we have a bad habit, we need to inculcate a good habit to overcome that. For example, if I have a bad habit which I want to overcome, say I always watch some movie or video every night before sleeping. What I can possibly do is replace that with the habit of reading some Swami stories or listening to Swami's discourse every night before I sleep. Now it is very important here to make the distinction between a bad habit and an addiction. The different techniques and ways that Swami recommends we use to give up bad habits is different from the technique and method we use to give up an addiction. That is why. Now, what is a bad habit? It is a habit that is bad, but it gives us pleasure when we do it. It gives us some kind of happiness and joy when we do it, and that's why we indulge in it. On the other hand, an addiction is such a powerful attractant that we do not seem to get happiness or joy in life unless we indulge in it. You get the difference, right? A habit gives us happiness when we indulge in it, but we are still happy otherwise also. But an addiction makes it impossible to get happiness unless we indulge in it. And this method of immediately giving it up, throwing it off like a snake, works for a habit. What should be done for an addiction? That we shall deal with in another video. Speaking of habits, there is a magical number, 21. What is this 21? 21 is the number of days we need to either form a habit or break a habit. Refrain from your bad habit for 21 days and it will be gone. Continuously work on and do a good habit that you wish to inculcate for 21 days and it becomes part of you. That is why Swami says, sow a habit, reap a character. With gratitude to Swami, may we use this technique of inculcating a good habit and overcome all our bad habits so that we grow closer to our Swami, we go closer to our Swami, and one day let there be no distinction between our Swami and us. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.